right, welcome to Shooting Hoops in the Boot, guys. And it's been a week or so since we've been on this podcast. And man, we have a lot of things that have happened. Jeremy, looky here. I told you I'm a man of my word.
I
Shave
see
the
that.
old beard.
The beard's gone. The goat remains. That's all right. That's all
Yeah.
right with me. I don't know if I'd
I
like
pulled
to
a-
see you all clean shaven.
I pulled a Jerry Lawler. You know, when they shaved his head, they really just gave him a little haircut. So I thought
Yeah.
I would do that. So, man, a lot of action to talk about. Haven't been on in a week, like I said. So let's start off with the Bootheel Conference Tournament Finals, as we had Porterville and Malden in the girls matchup. Chris, you called that one, and what a matchup it was. The Lady Dogs were looking for win number 3.
Well, they were actually looking for back-to-back tournament championships, but they were looking for the three-peat in the Bootheel
That's right.
Conference, and they did obtain both of those. Coach Kelly Fowler had her girls ready. They ended up beating Malden 58-30. Probably wasn't really close. Portersville jumped out to an early 16-2 lead. Glow Farmer, once again, junior for this team. She shined once again. Taryn Irby, she just was doing everything, in the first half, knocking down 3 threes. Congratulations to the Portersville Lady Bulldogs on a big win at home, in front of their home crowd. I'm proud for Coach Fowler and Coach, Chelsea Badwell, who assists her. Congratulations to those ladies that's on the team. Like I say, they got a good mix they got one senior and then a good mix of juniors, sophomores, even got a freshman that, Satori Saxton that plays and is going to be a big factor for the Lady Dogs in the future. So I want to give them their flowers, but I also want to say, this Malden Lady Green Wave Ball Club, guys, they're going to be there. They're going to be there in the next year or 2 or 3. They had some freshmen shine for them. I know that the outcome wasn't what they wanted, but congratulations to Coach Ty Miller as well. Real nice guy. He's got a lot to be proud of and look forward to. And like I say, it's just a conference tournament. They still got districts to go, but. It was the second game of the championship night, and it was a good thing for Portersville. The boys' side hadn't really done that well, and just give something for the home crowd to shout and cheer about. And so, like I say, I was just happy as I could be with the performance of the Lady Dogs, and like I say, I want to give Malden Lady Green Wave some flowers too, because they're going to be a factor in that Boot Hill Conference. In years to come. Ain't no doubt about that. And also the tribute to Coach Ron Riddle,
that was awesome.
That was very touching to me. And I know he was looking down, like I say, with a smirk on his face, because he has ties to both schools, but it was just a very nice thing, and proud of the Lady Dogs and the Lady Green Wave, and proud that they honored Coach Ron Riddle as well.
Yeah, that was awesome. I didn't even know nothing about that. I mean, none of us did, I don't think. But, yeah, what a awesome tribute to an awesome man. I love some Ron Riddle, man. And Coach Ty Miller gave us the interview after that big game in the semifinals there. And appreciate him and all the coaches that come up and talk to us here on the Boot Hill Sports Network, your local source for high school sports in the boot. Hey, and then we moved on to the JV final, and I tell you what, I was privileged to call three great games in that tournament. I had the Holcomb ladies against the Hayti Indians, 1-point game, and then I got to call the Crowsville Tigers and the Hayti Indians, along with Jeremy. What a great game that was. And then I got to call this JV final between the St. Hornsville Lions and the Hayti Indians that went overtime, and then come down to a last second shot. St. Hornsville Lions, that Beard kid took it straight to the hole and put it up off the glass and good, and beat the Indians of Hayti. That's 2 years in a row these teams have matched up and played overtime for a championship. So what a rivalry the next couple years is going to be with these two teams, man. And props to St. Hornsville. They gave it all they could give and got over the hump and beat the Hayti Indians. So I look forward to that rivalry the next few years. It's going to be great. And then, Jeremy, you had the big one, the varsity championship between the number 1 seed and the number 2 seed. So it played out like it should. Campbell and Caruthersville. Fill us in, Jeremy.
Well, I think Caruthersville came into that one. They still had the chip on the shoulder from Campbell beating them in overtime at homecoming. So it came down to 1 versus 2. Caruthersville, I think, was still riding the momentum from the game against Hayti. That to me felt more like a championship game because they ran the way that Caruthersville came out against Campbell. They were determined because they completely took Campbell out of their formations. And Campbell's known for their shooters. We expected Fowler to go in and have a huge game. Fowler didn't do hardly anything in the first half. And then you had, luckily, Siebert picked up the slack. But Caruthersville played that game the way that Caruthersville plays most second half when they're just determined to get that win and lock it down. Held it down, and they proved that. It's just like I wrote today in the story about the game they played Monday night. Remember, they started 0-4, but since that 0-4 start, they're 13-4. Something Coach Lamont Bell predicted when the new year started. You're going to see a different team, and he was right. So, congratulations to the Caruthersville Tigers. Thank you, Coach Bell, for joining us afterwards for the interview. To quote Coach G, Caruthersville Tigers went out and played Caruthersville Tiger basketball, and they are your 2025 Bootheel Conference champions. And I know it felt so good to beat Campbell again, who really kind of embarrassed them on their own home court at a homecoming.
Yeah, Campbell's got some shooters. They got a great team, man. And I'll tell you what, Bootheel Conference, we talked about this several times. It's loaded, guys. Those teams can match up every night and go at it and have a different winner every night, man. I feel 1 through 5 can beat anybody, especially some of these other conferences that are so strong. We'll touch on that here in a little bit. And then we move on. We all had the weekend off, so watch the Super Bowl. Give us your take on the Super Bowl there, Jeremy.
It went. I thought the Eagles would win. I didn't think that they go up 17-0 in a blink of an eye. And it seemed like, I'm sorry, but it just seemed like Kansas City didn't want to play. Mahomes didn't look like Mahomes. He couldn't find his receivers. They just looked flat. And by the time, Tom Brady made a great point on the broadcast at 10-0. Okay, fine. They came back from, the Patriots came back from a 28-3 deficit against the Falcons. 10-0. That's nothing in the Super Bowl. But it seemed like as soon as that pick six from DeJean, when that happened, it was 17-0. It felt like the rest of the game, it was over. I mean, it was completely over after that.
Mm-hmm.
Chris, what you got, Charlie? Buddy? I know you got the Chiefs family there.
Yeah, one thing that sticks out to me is, the fact of the Eagles, their defense, man, they stood out and shouted all day long, but they only rushed 4 and they didn't blitz. And I think that actually threw Mahomes off and the receivers off and even Kelsey off because they probably game planned for some blitzing. And I think Mahomes thrives when teams blitz against him because you guys know once that happens, there's an opening somewhere. But, man, that front 4 of the Eagles, man, they earned that Super Bowl. I know that the back end coverage was solid, but that front 4 to get after Mahomes the way they did and to have him running for his life the way that they did and not have to rush any more than 4, man, that was all that was the tell for me. Yeah, it was, we certainly, my wife is a big Kansas City Chiefs fan and her dad, Virgil Childers, my late father-in-law, he was a big, huge Kansas City Chiefs fan. And so, we was rooting for the Chiefs. But, once again, I mean, you got to give it to the Eagles, man. I think they threw a monkey wrench in what the Chiefs thought they were going to do defensively by only rushing 4. And only thing else I can close with is this. I sure wish my Cowboys was in the Super Bowl, but they wouldn't.
Maybe someday.
Maybe someday. Hey, next year. We're there next year.
Always next year. kind of like the Cubs, always next
Yeah.
year. Charlie,
Yeah.
I know what you. I know your feelings. Fly, Eagles, fly. Right.
Fly Eagles fly, baby. It was a day of celebration over here. I mean, just from the start of the game, that first scoring drive for the Eagles, bet hit or part of the parlay hit right there that my mom made that, and so she was already celebrating that. But that touchdown and just the overall domination that the Eagles put on, especially in that first half. Cooper Jean, he's not a safety. He's a cornerback who locked down year number one. He just, I mean, what a pick, what a run that he had. And to me, it was one of my favorite Super Bowls just because of everything about it. I like the New Orleans theme. The Eagles won. The Chiefs lost humiliatingly. And I like the halftime show. Hot take, I guess. The halftime show was good in my opinion. And so I think it was just a great day to hate the Chiefs. And I always hate the Chiefs.
Well, see, and I'll throw from that comment right there, Saquon. I'm telling you right now, if I hadn't been watching the game, and you would have texted me at halftime and said Saquon is averaging 3.2 a carry,
Wow.
I
Yeah.
said Chiefs got this by 45 points.
Yeah. They did a great job on Saquon, but they couldn't do nothing else, man. But hey, props to Barkley, man. What a year he had. He got out of New York, did his thing, man, and I've always liked him. I liked him when he's at Penn State, man. He's a beast.
Yeah.
So congratulations to the Eagles, man. Dominating performance, like Chris said. Rush 4, but they had 2 of them Georgia Bulldogs up on that line, and boy, they were barking and howling. Boy, they pulled it
Only
out.
only rushing
so there we
forward,
go.
6 sacks.
Yeah, for sure, man. All right, so let's move on to Monday night action, as Lance Russell would say, Monday night, baby. We had Crosville over New Madrid. Jeremy and Charlie had that call. Guys, fill us in a little bit about that on Monday night.
Charlie, you can start off. You had the ladies in the JV.
Yeah, well, we started off with the ladies in the junior varsity games. The ladies, just it was another one for the Tigers, another tough loss where, I mean, they just looked defeated in the first quarter. Really, it was. I mean, this ladies team, give it a couple years, they have some studs on there, and they can be something in the Bootheel Conference. But this year is obviously not the year for them. Going down and losing 67-12 in that game, and then after that we had junior varsity action between New Madrid and Crothersville, and it looked like another just big one, another big defeat for the Tigers on that day until around the 7-minute mark of the fourth quarter. The Tigers are down 24, and they cut that lead down to about 4 for a little bit, and then they lost by 8 in a game where they looked, I mean, dead in the water just in the third quarter. They began to run that press to efficiency. They began to really click on shooting. Charmin Tillman was hitting some key shots. Faison Taylor was out there hooping. And really, I mean, let's just say the Tigers played like this even in the third quarter. From that fourth quarter action, if they played like that in the third quarter, they would have won this game simply against New Madrid. But they came out just looking a bit defeated after being upset by Zenith in the conference tournament.
Yeah,
you're right.
Tillman hit some big shots down there, man. Hit some big threes that get them back in that ball game.
Well, and like Charlie was mentioning, and I remember I said it on the air in the fourth quarter, the Tigers outscored New Madrid in the fourth quarter 34-16. I mean, they you could smell comeback from miles away. You could smell it up in New Madrid. You know, there was people shaking in their boots, I guarantee you, because they were up at one point, I know, by 26 points, if not more than that. But that was, we really thought that junior varsity was coming back. And Coach G makes a great point. The girls have made big strides. I was there at the Al Jackson Classic, which I think was their first game of the year. And so I've seen them sent to that to now, and they're making big strides. And like Charlie said, they are very young. I know the bank was open because Liz Smith, as a freshman guard, she hit a 3 off the glass that kind of ignited the small crowd that was there. But to the varsity action, the Tigers didn't show any signs of rust. They got out there. They took a early commanding lead. Sammy Bryant had a huge first quarter, along with He hit a big three in the first, and then Quan McVay and Bigham, Demarion Rogers hit a couple threes in the second, and they were up big at half, increased it. The second quarter was the biggest quarter for the Tigers. They absolutely dominated it. They just New Madrid could not rebound. They have a big man named, oh, I'm blanking on it. Not Conrad, something very close to that. I got it here in my notes, but anyway, he had 16 points to lead the Eagles, and if it weren't for him, I think Cranford, that's his name, Cranford for the Eagles. If it weren't for him, this could have been a 40, 50-point blowout. And in the fourth quarter, the Tigers saw a lot of the bench players come in and get some time, and they really just coasted to a 67-50 win. And I said it on there. I'm going to say it until next year, until they're dethroned. They played like the Bootheel Conference champions that they are.
Yeah, you forgot something that happened in that second quarter, by the way. With about a minute 40 left in it, Amarion Trust, the biggest player on the Tigers team this year, the tallest and just most muscular. I don't even know what he was doing. He gets a pass and he goes like this, just shakes a man loose. He goes all the way nearly to the doors for New Madrid.
He broke ankles, and this is one of the biggest guys on the team, and he made a move that made all of us just speechless and awe. And that was the other point that I need to make about this Crothersville New Madrid game. You're not going to see it in the stat sheets, but Colby Sargent and Gavin Moten had absolutely just terrifying games on defense. They were all over rebounds, blocks. They were finding lanes that weren't there. They were getting through. And like I said, you don't see that what all they did on the stat sheets. They didn't come up with a whole bunch of points. I think they combined for 7 points, but what they did defensively says a lot for the Crothersville Tigers. So hats off to you, Colby Sargent and Moten, for not getting enough love for dominating the Eagles on defense in that game.
All right, and then let's talk about some Tri-County Conference tournament that kicked off on Monday night. We had Gideon over Holcomb, Southland over Cooter, which surprised me there, man. Southland is a 6 seed, and they moved on. And then Risco over North Penn, no surprise there. Beat them pretty handily. And then Clarkton over Delta C7. Delta C7 did not have Stewart and Johnson in that one, so they were down some players, but neither here nor there. And then so that was it on Monday night. And then let's get into Tuesday night action. Chris, you had Portersville and Kelly.
I did, yeah. We was senior night at Jim Bidwell Court there at Portersville High School, and they honored 4 basketball players and 4 cheerleaders, and I'm going to announce who those are. Of course, we had we'll start with the cheerleaders. Miss Briley Adams was a senior. Taryn Parton, who's one of the triplets, we're familiar with from football and basketball, and she was a senior. Miss Liza Priggle, senior, and Reese Roan was a senior. And then we get into the basketball players. We honored Houston Parton, Jaquan Bogan. It was good to see him back. He'd been hurt and then came back, and then he was kind of hurt again or didn't play for a while, but he dressed out. And then, of course, Zay Bogan and Timothy Hamilton. So those 8 players and their parents, got honored in between the JV game and the varsity game. The JV only played a half. Kelly ended up winning that one. I'm not sure the score, maybe like about 6. But I hadn't been involved in any 1/2 games, and you really can't tell much by that. I mean, because it comes and goes so quickly. 2 7-minute quarters. But Kelly, one thing I can say about their JV. Their defense impressed me because they were pressing and they were double teaming wherever the ball was, and their guys were flying all over the court. So I know their coaches were happy, and they took that JV contest. And then getting on into the varsity contest, we took one on the chin. As one of them, it was one of them games that, man, you hate the way that it went if you're a Bulldog fan. As Kelly ended up winning the ball game 72-69. The big difference was they outscored us in the fourth quarter 21-7. We had a 24-13 lead after 1. We had a 44-31 lead at halftime. we had a 62-51 lead in the third quarter, and then to lose 72-69, the wheels just fell off. Like I say, they outscored us 21-7 in that fourth quarter. Ain't a whole lot you can say. Whenever we started the fourth quarter, I thought in my head, we're going to win this thing. But Kelly is a tough team, and they've given it their all. That was what I was thinking, and you guys can probably relate because we led the whole game. We even got up by 21 at one point. I think in somewhat time in the second quarter, we were ahead by 21 points, and I was even thinking turbo clock at that point. Shame on me. Shouldn't have probably thought that.
Hey, there's a lot of that going on today.
Yes. Hey, I admit it. Shame on me, but kudos to Kelly, man. They're going to be in Class 3 District 1 right along with the Cruzville Tigers, and Jeremy will get to see them. They took it to us in that fourth quarter right there at Jim Bidwell Court at home. And there really ain't a whole lot I can say about it is other than I'm sure Coach Smith will review that film and see what all we did wrong. We had so many turnovers in the fourth quarter. We had guys trying to slip passes in tight windows that just get tipped away and turned over, and everything that could go wrong for the Bulldogs did in the fourth quarter, and everything that could go right for Kelly did in the fourth quarter. And it's one of them games that I hate to see happen to my team, but it is what it is. We're going to host Twin Rivers on Monday, and so about all I can say about that is we're not going to look in the rearview mirror. We're going to look straight ahead because we still got Twin Rivers. We got East Prairie next week. We also got Southland next week. We got Kennett next week. Got 5 games next week, guys.
Wow.
Twin Rivers, Southland, Kennett, East Prairie, and then Delta C7 on next Friday night for homecoming. And then we'll take the weekend off and start the Class 3 District 1 tournament on the following Monday.
Man, you're going to be a busy man there, Mr. Brown. Man, I had the privilege of 2 of our top 10 teams, at least in my top 10. I'm sure they're in yours too, but don't really know that until we discuss here in a little bit. But I had the 13-5 Burning Mules traveling to the Hayti Indians, 13-3. So just 2 blocks from my house. I love watching these 2 teams battle. And me and Chris talked about it earlier in the day. They have battled for some district championships, and they have had some great regular season games, and this was another one. Bernie has come in. Always, Coach Long. I love Coach Long. Man.
I was going to say, Mark, it's exciting watching Coach Long coach. Yes.
Yeah, and my wife, I think this is her first opportunity. She got a bird's eye view of Coach Long because we sit right there behind their bench, man. So he's camera probably picked him up a lot more than he wanted, but that's just Coach Long. He's animated, and he loves to coach basketball, man. He's one of the best in the area. Props to him. But anyway, on with the game. Hayti won the game over Bernie 62-49, I believe it was. And the game was back and forth, guys. I mean, Bernie led, Hayti led, Bernie led at half, then back and forth in the third quarter, but the fourth quarter was the difference. Hayti started pressing and making baskets. Bernie got into where they had to foul. Hayti hit some key free throws down the stretch. J.C. Ford, who we know was hurt during football season, hasn't been back long. So he come down. They fouled him. He hit some big free throws. And props to sophomore Nick Combat. I've been a little hard on him about not being able to play in the Bootheel Conference. We get a little tough, get a little ragged. But he stepped up last night, carried his team, put in 24 points for the Indians. And props to John Aycock for Bernie, man. He put in 21, the big sophomore. Hey, those 2 guys right there that I just talked about are both sophomores. Loaded. And Bernie's got a sharpshooter named Morgan. He's a sophomore. He can shoot the 3, man. He come off the bench, poured in 10 before you knew it. And, man, what a great game that was. And I was excited to call it. And Hayti gets a big win, moves on to 14-3. Bernie falls to 13-6. And we'll talk about those teams some more as we get into our top 10. And I think that was all the action for nope, it was not all the action. We had a lot of action on Tuesday night in the Tri-County Tournament, man. Tri-County Tournament on Tuesday night at Southland over Gideon, and then Risco over Clarkton. And all the fuss is about the Tri-County tussle that happened last night, as Chris would call it, the Cardwell Chaos, or Chaos in Cardwell. We all know, we've watched the videos. There's been a lot of comments on our thread today that I made. So I'm going to go and fess up. I'm the one you see out of all of us who can post on our page, and there's one more behind the screen. I'm the one who made it. I was unprofessional, as people would say. But if you read it, I said, I guess Risco is going to be kicked out of the Bloomfield tournament. And that was short-lived. But what I meant by that, why you people got into all uproar, is they set the standard last year, or this past tournament, is if you get in a fight, you're kicked out of the tournament. Hayti South Pim got in a fight, got kicked out. And that's all I meant by it, and it took off from there. And all of a sudden, I'm unprofessional. Even in my inbox, guys, got personal messages from some high-class people in Risco that I was very unprofessional. It wasn't about Risco. I don't care who was in that fight last night. If you were in the Bloomfield tournament and in a fight, that was my point. You're going to be kicked out. Right. Now, that has to stem with the South Pemiscot and the Hayti issue that happened in Clarkton. And there was a comment just a while ago talking about Clarkton had nothing to do with that incident. Well, guess what? Bloomfield had nothing to do with that incident. So you're going to have to play the standard, guys. Bloomfield Christmas committee, it is invitation only, so you can invite who you want to. By all means, do that. You got a lot of time to think about it, but do not ever jump to conclusion. I think one of our listeners and viewers said it the best. Kids will be kids. In the heat of a moment, stuff will happen. Now, let's don't jump to conclusions and throw teams out just because of what happened. Last night, I think they did a great job. They took a lot of patience because one kid threw a punch. I don't care what anybody says. We got it on video, okay? You can doubt it. You can say whatever you want to. No matter who the instigator was, I heard that as well. Well, such is the instigator. It don't matter. Hayti was not the instigator. Hayti was in the dressing room, kicked out of the tournament. And it is what it is. Get mad at me all you want to. I don't really care, guys. It is about doing the right thing, and that's the bottom line. It was nothing against Risco, nothing against Clarkton. I love all our teams. And by God, we got some great teams around here, and people need to realize that. Just don't jump on the fact. See, they missed the key word. I guess Risco is going to be kicked out of the tournament. So, you know what? Chris, I know you analyzed the tape today, and me and you had talked earlier today when I was in your office, handing you that beautiful Bootheel Sports Network pullover. And I'm sure it fit just right. It felt good. Yeah, probably put it on. Tell us your thoughts. Tell us your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm gonna save that pullover for a special occasion. Yeah, I went back and I looked at the video, Mark and Jeremy and Charlie. I don't know if you guys got to see it or not. You know, there's a lot can be said about it. I seen two punches thrown. One, you know, old school, you know, fighting punch was thrown by Clarkton. There was also one jab punch to the head area thrown by Risco before that. That's what brought the punch from Clarkton. I'm not going to say no names, but at the start of the fourth quarter, there was two guys, one for Clarkton and one for Risco down low. There was an entry pass. Risco had the ball, trying to get it down low to one of Risco's big men. Clarkton guy knocked it away. Now, there could have been some talking and pushing that went on in the first three quarters, as I didn't watch the whole game. But I don't know if that entry pass denial cause something, but these two guys walked around each other as the ball went out of bounds. It takes, probably 20, 25 seconds to corral the ball. And as they walk around each other, a Risco player threw his hands up. The old, I'm not doing anything, referee.
Right.
We all see it. We
Yeah.
all see it. Well, the Risco player lifted his left arm up and hit the Clarkton player in the face. It's plainly on video. I wish the referees would have seen that, because that would have constituted a tech right there. I believe if that tech would have been thrown right then, probably none of this would have even happened. That's just speculation, in my opinion. But, from there, feelings gets, boys trying to be men and trying to, they're on a big stage, or a tri-county stage, tri-county conference tournament stage, and some feelings got hurt, I guess. And one thing escalated to another. I know the officials, I know all of three of them personally, and I'm not knocking them. They all done a great job, because I'm certainly not going to criticize what they did. But if it would have been me, there would have been two Risco players ejected and one Clarkton player ejected. I don't know what the ejections were. I didn't see, once they started the game back, it looked like all the players were on the bench, because for Risco's, the good thing for them, they were up by 20 at that point. So they didn't really have to, they had the fortune of, Coach, what's the coach's names at Risco? Earnhardt or Blankenship, Coach Blankenship.
Yeah,
he had the fortune of not, having to send his kids out there.
Earnhardt's our guest. He's going to have a little words to say right before
yeah. But to wrap this up, we was talking about the Bloomfield Christmas tournament. Just my opinion. It does not reflect those of any of these other three guys or the Bootheel Sports Network. But my opinion is Risco is going to be right there at Bloomfield next year for the Bloomfield Christmas tournament, because there's no way in HE double hockey stick that the Bloomfield Christmas tournament committee is going to kick Risco out. I'm not going to get into why. You can speculate why. Risco is a safe, solid team in the Bloomfield Christmas tournament. And that's really all I got to say about that. Jeremy?
I say here, before Jeremy gets into it, let's read Lonnie Dale Gibson Jr.'s comment here. Thanks for the shout out to the Rebels in Southland High. Of course, man. You guys support us. We're going to support you, man. You're in the Bootheel, and that's why we started this thing. That's what a lot of people do not understand. We started this because down here in the Bootheel, all we do is get a black eye. No pun intended about the fight and all that. But and that's why we started, to give our kids some recognition that they deserve. We have some great athletes in here. And yes, sometimes they blow a fuse just like the rest of us do in the world, okay? There's not a listener, a viewer that's on this podcast that has not blew a fuse and has regrets. And I guarantee you, the people who threw that punch right then had some regrets. If they did not, then they're not human, guys. That's all it is to it. But anyway, he says, shout out to the Rebels in Southland High. Yes, there were more than one punch thrown. There was 3 punches thrown. The last one towards the end of a Risco player to a Clarkton player in the head. I think that's what Chris was referring to. It's the same 3 or 4 Risco kids, and a couple of Clarkton kids came off the bench into the area of the incident. Kids were playing their hearts out, and these things happen on the court from time to time. I'm thankful it was taken care of real quickly. Thanks again. And see, that's the way we should look at things right there. It should not be quick to judgment, and let's throw people out of the tournament and all that. So, and
one thing too, guys, before I shut up about this, the sad thing is, hey, growing up when we all did, fights are going to happen. I mean, it's everybody, I want kids on my team, if I'm a basketball coach, that might throw an elbow from time to time, or, you know what I'm saying? That's what I would want. But the sad thing about this is the precedent has already been set. And that's sad to say. I wished it hadn't have been. But it has been. And we're going to see how it's going to what's going to happen from here.
Right. And speaking of that, You said the precedent been set of people getting kicked out of the Bloomfield tournament. Here's how Justin Earnhardt feels about that. He's been on our Facebook page all day whining about his Risco Tigers. I've done nothing wrong, and we might not be allowed in their gym Tuesday night. Man, what a sad situation when you got to threaten us with not being allowed in your gym because we voice opinions and did nothing against your team or your hometown, but do nothing but support this area. If you read the post, it plainly says, yes, Risco was going to be thrown out of the tournament. That's all I said. My inbox was lit up today. It was lit up when I left the arena in Hayti last night, the gymnasium, before I even discussed it with anybody. I already knew about it, guys, and I thought, man, should I even touch this? But somebody said, Mark, you're the Bootheel Sports Network. You report what goes on in our area high school athletics, and this happened. So here it is, guys, and Mr. Earnhardt, sorry, buddy, but you can quit the crying now. No hard feelings. I love your Risco Tigers. I love the area. And it wasn't nothing against Risco. That's what you people need to understand. If Clarkton had been in the Bloomfield tournament, the statement would have said, Clarkton and Bloomfield, I guess, will be out of the tournament. No matter who it was, if they were in the Bloomfield tournament and they're in a fight, they're kicked out. Like Chris said, the standard has been set. We will see come next December, I guess, this December. So we shall see. Any other thoughts, Jeremy?
We'll see if the precedent's going to stick. That's what we're going to see.
Well, yeah, I've been thinking about it all day, and I was in that chat with you, and here's my thing, and let me put this as a precedent. I am the voice of the Tigers. I'm a Caruthersville Tiger fan. I am not representing the Caruthersville Tigers by what I say. This is my opinion. Like Chris said, this is my opinion. This does not go for the entire Bootheel Sports Network. Here's my thoughts. It was a shame. And I've said it. I'm so tired of it, of talking about Gideon, but I'm going to again. What happened at Gideon was not the players. Hayti and South Pemiscot were punished. They should not have been. It was not the players, as Mark stated. And we've all stated time and time again to the point where I'm almost out of breath. This was not the players, but Hayti and South Pam were made fools of because there's a reputation. Down south in the Bootheel, Caruthersville, thugs, Hayti, thugs, South Pemiscot, thugs. These weren't the players. In Risco and Clark, these were the players. These weren't just the players that are throwing punches. And yes, I saw the hand go up, and I know exactly what you're talking about. I watched it over and over. These were the players on the court. These are the ones that should be punished. The players coming off the bench onto the court should be punished. The parents coming out of the stands. Let the officials handle it because I thought they did a fantastic job of handling it. I really did. So this happened on the court. The precedent was set. And then, you know what? This is where I'm going to get in trouble. And this is why I'm not a representative of Caruthersville. Bloomfield, if you're going to be an invite only and you're going to kick Caruthersville out 2 years ago, you're going to kick Hayti and South Pem out for something that happened in the lobby. I don't care where the people that were involved in it are from. They don't represent that basketball team. They're just from the town, and they're thugs. They're the troublemakers, and you're going to punish these teams. So now we have a real incident that was live on TV. We all have seen it since then. Live on TV, on the court, in the middle of a game between players in the game. I'm sorry, you go by the rules. If you're going to kick Hayti and South Pemiscot out, it was this past year. It was in 2024. The next Bloomfield Christmas tournament is this year in 2025 when it happened. By your rules, by your standards, these players and teams are not allowed to be invited to your tournament. I'm going to be shocked and appalled if they are in the tournament, if they're in the bracket when it's released at the end of this year. And I'll say right now, unless one of our teams that we represent and cover are in the tournament, I won't go out of pure just disgust because the violence on the court, there's no place for it. Yes, it's testosterone. It's sport. It happens. And yet it's going to happen. We see it at every single level. One of the greatest things watching baseball is when someone charges the mound. Everyone loves that. But you don't want to see it in high school sports. However, once again, in Gideon, Hayti and South Pem, Those players didn't fight. Those players had nothing to do with it. They're kicked out of it. Now we have an actual fight from one team that was in the tournament, and it's invite only. I'm telling you right now, and Chris, I hope you're dead wrong. I really do about Risco. If they are invited to the tournament in the same year that they had a fight on the court, I don't care that it's not going to be the same school year. It was this year, and everyone knows about it. One of the streams was already pulled down. It was pulled down last night because of it. It sickens me, and I'm with Ashton. I'm with Amber. Thank you guys for commenting. You hate to see it, but I'm sorry. You're going to do it to one team. I don't care where you're from. I don't care if like Mark said, we have that black cloud or we have a black eye or whatever you want to call it down here. It's our reputation. That's all we do. Forget about our grade point averages that our coaches are so well to post and how great our students do. One little mess up. That's not even by the students. Once again, got Hayti and South Penn kicked out. Now we have a mess up by students on TV in the middle of a big game. And if there's no punishment, if there's not consequences from these actions, then I don't know where we are in society. I'm about to quote Coach Gundy back when he was, I'm a man, I'm 40. Come after me. Well, it's that time. I'm a man, and I'm sitting here telling you, you cannot judge the teams from down south differently than the teams from up north. And I'm not talking about the level of talent in the conference because I'm biased. The Bootheel Conference tournament to me was the best tournament, and it's the best conference competition-wise. Forget about all that. This is just A and B. Okay, it's not black and white. This is the exact same. You're punished a team down here, you punish them up there. What happened up there was a lot more serious than what happened down here. I'm not saying that fans getting into a fight's not serious. Shouldn't happen at all. This was a on the court players versus players altercation, and it needs to be handled. And it needs Bloomfield. I'm sorry, you need to do the right thing, or I'm going to consider the entire tournament a joke. I'm done. Charlie, go ahead.
No, hang on before Charlie starts. Let me get in here. And Garrett Hicks, who's my man from Risco, and I love Garrett, man. I met him probably 4 or 5 years ago when he was doing this 573 stuff. And that's back when we could all get along and broadcast games together. He sat beside me. He did his 573 podcast. I did my Bootheel Sports Network podcast. But anyway, he says no parents came out of the stands. And I think, Jeremy, what you're referring to is when the administrators came out on the court. So that's probably what you're referring to.
Yeah.
So Garrett, I think that's what he meant, but we need to clarify that before, some more rumors get started on the Bootheel Sports Network.
No, I want to thank Mr. Hicks. I want to thank you for that because obviously I wasn't there. I was just watching the video. I just saw some people in clearly street clothes come on the court. I didn't know they were administrators. Yeah. Either way, I knew I was going to get on a tangent, and I do apologize. So no parents, but I'll go back to the fact the players throwing punches need to be punished, and that they reflect on the team. The teams do not need to be into the tournament if Hayti and South Penn and 2 years ago Caruthersville and also this year they weren't invited. So I do apologize to that part of, and I'm not knocking Risco as the town or anything. No. I'm just saying what happened.
We have not all day long. That's what people need to understand.
No, I have no problem with any of these teams or towns around here. I'm just saying, I'm stating the obvious of what I saw. And of course, again, I apologize about the parents' comment, but I'm stating what I saw as far as the actions of the players. Those were clear punches. They weren't. That was not a friendly little tussle. That was a real fight. So that
it's a Tri-County tussle, Jeremy. Don't take my name away from it.
All right. Well, if we got a 3-mile rivalry down here, we got a Tri-County tussle. So I'll stick with.
Hey, I named the 3-mile rivalry, baby.
That's
so
what I'm
anyway,
saying.
Charlie, give us your student perspective. Now, don't get yourself in trouble where you got to do 5 days ISS and all that good stuff.
I think it's ultimately really, I agree with what my dad said earlier. Things happen, it's a travesty. Things happen, but it does. And obviously the precedent is set that Bloomfield should kick out Risco, but they're not. I feel like let's just cut it right now. I mean, they're not going to kick them out. And it's really what Jeremy was saying, reputation that we've built for ourselves in the past couple years. It's a reputation that no one wants to play us. It's a reputation that no one wants to invite us to their gym or come to our gyms because they are scared. And we just had a Boot Hill Conference tournament that was held perfectly, and no incidents. And I feel like it should be a wake-up call for some people that the players and mostly some of the fans aren't the problem. It's just that the culture that we breed as a country and as a world right now is a problem. A country or a culture that we believe that stuff like violence is okay should not be celebrated. But that's what we do now. Just really, it's what we do. A world of hate is what it feels like we're getting into, and it's affecting every single aspect of our lives, from high school sports just to everyday normal 9-to-5 working life.
Yeah, and Charlie, you bring up very good points there. And by the way, to some of our listeners who probably are tuning in for the first time with all the controversy we was going to talk about tonight, Charlie is a student, and I believe a junior. Is that right, Charlie?
Yeah.
A junior at Crowsville High School, and listen to the way he just answered that question, guys. That tells you a lot about him as a person and how we are here on the network, guys. We're not going to sugarcoat anything. We're going to tell you how it is. And it's sad that a junior in high school is smarter than some of the people that got pissed off today. And not to insult Charlie's intelligence, but he still is technically a kid, but his smartness is better than some of you guys out there today who got really pissed off over nothing.
I'm graduating college next year, by the way.
Awesome, Charlie.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's why you're part of our team, man, because we knew that would bring our IQ up.
Absolutely.
That's my nephew.
It's not bringing Jared's IQ up. I hear him every single day.
I already had it.
Hey, there's a great comment by Jack Space, who's just having fun with it too. No invite because DEI is no longer the law. That's right. He is exactly right. And Lamont Bell loves us. Coach Bell, we love you too, man. And now we got to get into talking about other things. We had some sad news to report today. Man, it just keeps pouring in, guys. The Battle of the Bootheel will not happen for whatever reason. They canceled the game. I hate it. Man, what a great game the first one was. And I sure was looking forward to the second edition of the Battle of the Bootheel, man. We'd hardly ever get two of those in 1 year, and I thought we was. But for whatever reason, it's canceled. We wish both teams the best of luck going forward. And it just breaks my heart, man. I was really looking forward to that. Jeremy, thoughts on the Battle of Bootheel being canceled?
Yeah, it's a shame, and like you said, we don't know all the details or anything, but at least we got one. I can say that, and I know you and I both. We had an absolute blast calling that game together. We were, like I said, we were pushing each other and screaming and trying to be louder than the other one. Cheerleaders were running away from us, but it would have been great to do it again. See those two teams. And as much as I love Crothersville, and how strong I felt Hayti was all year, this is one of those things where you get these two teams together, it could be a coin toss every single time. You never know, because I think both teams are that talented. So you put both teams at full strength up against each other, you might, out of 10 times, you might have a 5-5 record. You never know.
Yeah, Chris, you got an outside perspective now since you moved to Portersville, but you were up close and personal, and that rivalry felt like old times, did it not?
Man, yeah, it was what a wonderful game. The McVeigh versus Combat, Sammy Bryant versus Bug Payne. I mean, that was two battles that I enjoyed watching.
Hang on. I got to do it for the Crowsville cheerleaders and Jeremy. Javante Payne!
Oh my!
Why is that guy so loud?
I'm not kidding. That's what they were yelling at me.
But yeah, I mean, I was sitting there in my Portersville gear, but man, I'm still Hayti proud. It's probably gonna be in me till I die. But I was so excited. That game was so exciting. It always is. But hey, bottom line is you don't get no better than Coach Webb. or Coach Bell. Certainly good luck to Coach Webb in Class 2 District 1. As you know, Hayti is going to be they're going to be around in that tournament, and they got a lot of promising things ahead of them. And Coach Bell, of course, I'll be seeing him in the Class 3 District 1. I don't know if Bulldogs are going to face the Tigers, but I'm going to try to pull the Bulldogs through if we do. But man, good luck to Coach Bell from here on out. Man, love that guy. Can't say enough good things about Coach Bell, and it's sad that it ain't happening, but just part of it. And don't wish nothing but the best for both of them two teams going forward.
Absolutely. I want to start off. I am a Cresville student. I'm not doing my rah they're scared of us speech, because that's not the truth. I don't know. It might be. Who knows? But it's not the truth, or at least it's not what we know right now. And it's really a disappointment, because just think 7 days in the future of when we're recording this right now, we would have been in Hayti right now, and we would have been enjoying ourselves watching, some great basketball. These two teams have been consistently in our top 10s this year. Cresville slipped out of mine for a little bit, but still, they were in our top 10s for most of the year. And that first game was just fireworks. It felt like every single play felt like a big moment. But my boy Amari came in clutch. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Big 2-5.
Yeah.
Jeremy, close us out on this game.
Well, I do too, as well as you guys. I want to wish both teams the success from here on out. You couldn't have talked about two classier coaches that absolutely love each other. They love to play each other. They have a lot of respect for each other, and it would have been fun to play it back, do it one more time, and have two Battle of the Bootheels. But we're not. It's official. It's officially canceled. It's a shame. However, both teams are going to move on. We got districts to think about. So, but now that we know that it's not going to happen, we still have a couple games left on the schedule before districts. Get through those. Let's get through districts and then see where it goes from there. Because like we've said, there's a lot of talent. We get the privilege of watching a lot of talent each and every night. So, better luck next year. We'll see you back on the football field and then back on the basketball court next year.
There you go, man. And that's going to be some great battles down the road. Hayti's got a young basketball team, man, and no seniors, all juniors and mainly sophomores, man. Start 2 juniors and 3 sophomores. It's going to be great. And now, as we are going to roll in, is Mr. Covington down there.
Yeah, Deshaun's ready for it.
Yeah, he is. Hey, Deshaun, here it comes, man. Our new top 10. And first of all, we're going to open up with Mr. Danny Glass, one of our fine sponsors, who I forgot on the last broadcast to even read his top 10. But here we go. This is Danny Glass's, and then we'll take it from there. Big Game Dan's top 10. As you all know, Danny Glass is a fine sponsor, and he is at every big game. Last night he was at East Prairie and Campbell.
He might be somewhere tonight. Who knows?
Yeah, probably is, man. Hopefully he's listening to us wherever he is. First of all, his honorable mentions are in no order. Zenith Hornersville, Twin Rivers, and Bernie. So that leads me to believe that his top 10 is going to have some shakeup with not Bernie in it. Number 10, he has 12-8 South Pembescott. They're playing very tough competition, but now playing better. And everything I read, guys, this is his words, not mine. So do not hold me to that either. Number 9, 10-10 Charleston. They are one of the better Class 2 teams with 10 losses. No doubt about that. I think Charleston's going to be in a few of our top 10s, and boy, they're going to be they're going to be somebody you're going to have to step up with in Class 2 as they move down this year. I don't know if a lot of our listeners are aware of that, but you better look out for them. As Joe Epic right here says, Danny Glass is a GOAT. There's no doubt about that. Number 9, Charleston. Number 8, 17-5. A team that's on a skid here. Campbell, tough losses. Crosville and Risco and now East Prairie. Still one of the better teams around, and Coach Fowler will have them ready for the stretch. No doubt about that. Coach Fowler is a great coach for the Campbell Camels. Number 7, he has East Prairie. East Prairie is 17-4. Few tough losses. They had Noah Johnson and Carter Markham. Markham can shoot it. If he gets hot, look out. They need to have a great end to the season, he says. And number 6 is 19-4 Woodland. Woodland has knocked them down, but not out. So there you go. They've been knocked down, but not out. Number 5, he has the Hayti Indians. Hayti 14-3. Big win over Bernie last night. They still hard to beat, and when the Webb kid gets healthy, watch out and get ready for the rematch of the Battle of the Bootheel. And, of course, he did not know that we were not going to have the Battle of the Bootheel. So there you go. Number 4, he has the Caruthersville Tigers. Caruthersville 12-8. Believes they can be a force down the stretch in Class 3. I think we all do, Danny. We agree with you on that one. Number 3, he has the Scott City Rams at 20-3. Only losses to Jackson, Woodland, and Cape Central. They are peaking at the right time, and it's always a joy to watch them play. I agree with that, as I had them and South Pemiscot. So I'll tell you what, Scott City is the real deal, guys. Got size, can shoot the basketball. So watch out for the Rams. Number 2, he has the Risco Tigers. Risco's only lost to Dexter by 2 and Bernie earlier in the season. They're playing like a well-oiled machine with a deep bench. They will be hard to handle in the districts. And his number 1 team is the Puxico Indians. Puxico is 21-1. Only lost to Thayer. They're my number 1 until somebody beats them. Say what you say, but they have played Class 3, Class 4, and have beaten them, so they are ready for districts. It ain't over till it's over. We got a few more weeks of basketball left. Let's see how it turns out. Keep watching. You may just see Mark, Jeremy, Chris, or Charlie come to your hometown with a game. So there is Danny Glass's top 10. Now let's move on to Jeremy's top 10, and we'll close out with mine later tonight.
Yeah, his is going to be in some points similar and different. In my honorable mentions, just because of the 500 record, I got Charleston, but they still scare me to death, and they'll easily crack the top 10. But they've had a few losses lately. They're on a little bit of a skid. And also, I got Chaffee as my honorable mention. I've got to see them play once, and their record, I believe they're 14-8, and I think they're a team, when they get hot, they can run. So those are my honorable mentions. Number 10, I got South Pem. You know, they're starting to come back, but they hit a little bit of a skid. Didn't look that great in the Bootheel Conference tournament. At number 9, just like Danny Glass, I think it was, I got Bernie sliding down to number 9 after the beating that they took last night. I didn't see the same Bernie team that we saw back earlier during the tournaments and all. 8 continues to slide. That's Campbell. They just haven't looked in sync over there after Caruthersville and, like I said, East Prairie. I got that East Prairie team. They're still just hanging in there. And really, I won't know too much more about East Prairie. I know they still have a handful or a few games left. Until district time comes up. That's when I'll get to see what they're really made of. Number 6, Woodland, who had been in my top 5 most of the year. They slid down to 6. I think I had them. Actually, they moved. They're up 1 spot from last week. Yeah. So 6. At 5, I've got the Hayti Indians. Been talking them up all year. They did lose to the Tigers in the Bootheel Conference tournament, but it's still just a 3-loss team. My Caruthersville Tigers, I continue to say they're on a run. Again, I want to keep pointing this out. They started out with that 0-4 tough season that stretch of, just tumultuous games, those juggernauts. After that, they're a 13-4 team. So the streak that they're on and winning the Bootheel Conference champion says enough to me to put them top 4. And I'd put them higher, but I've got Risco at 3. I know they're 21-2. But the reason I have Risco at 3 is because I've seen both Risco and Scott City play. Scott City, yes, they're also a 20-win team, They do have one more loss. I just think Scott City is a little bit more dangerous and have some their record, their rap sheet, their one loss just go up and down. It is too impressive for me not to have them at number 2. And then number 1, well, folks, same thing. There's nothing to talk about. It's Puxico until somebody dethrones Puxico. They're an absolute beast, and they're number 1. And I got a feeling we're going to hear that repeat here shortly. That's my top 10. Chris?
Yeah, man, it's crazy how a lot of our top 10s are kind of close and similar, just a few spots here and there on opinions. But mine, I got 2 honorable mentions. One is Van Buren. I'm going to throw them in there at 13-7. They have won 4 games in a row. They wasn't long ago. They was 9-7. So I'm going to throw them in there, and then I'm going to throw Charleston also as an honorable mention. They were on the rise. They took a pretty good beating to Sykeston, and they've lost 3 in a row. So I'm not ready to put them in my top 10 just yet. They're right there on the cusp. And then starting with my top 10, number 10, I got Bernie, who they're going to drop a spot for me from last time, 13-6. I still got a lot of confidence and faith in Coach Jason Long. He's one of my favorite coaches, one of the best basketball minds out there. Number 9, going up 1 spot is South Pemiscot. I know they didn't do a very awesome showing at the Bootheel Conference tournament, but I'm still high on Coach McGowan. I know that they got some talent on that team. They're not very deep is the only thing that concerns me, but I'm going to stick them at number 9. The number 8 team is the Big Faller, Campbell, still 17-5, still got Coach Steve Fowler, still got those shooters. They dropped 6 spots for me, but one thing that I like about them, well, there's a few things to like about them, but Kellum, the point guard, one of the best players in the state of Missouri. I mean, forget this to Bootheel. That kid's got a motor, and if I was going to start a high school team, he would be one of my starting 5. There ain't no doubt. So Campbell at 8. Woodland will be at 7 for me. They dropped a spot. Hey, they're still 19-4. I know they've had a couple of bad losses, but I'm gonna stick them right there at 7. And the number 6 team for me, who goes up a spot from last time, is East Prairie. These guys, East Prairie's solid. I mean, they're 17, and I got them at 17-5. I think Danny might have listed them at 17-4.
Yeah, but
I mean, they're going to be good, and they're going to be there. Always impressed with East Prairie. Top 5, I got Hayti at number 5, who raised up 3 spots for me. They showed me a lot against the Crowsville team. It's really, really tough hanging with them. And then beating Bernie last night is kind of what put them in my top 5 because that was a big, big win for them and for me, for them. Number 4, going up 1 spot is the Crowsville Tigers. Their 12-8 record isn't in no way indicative of what they can do on the court. I almost wanted to throw them at 3. I kind of wish they'd play Risco, but right now I'm going to stick Coach Lamont Bell and the Crowsville Tigers at the number 4 spot. Number 3, going up a spot as well, is the Risco Tigers, 21-2. That's an impressive record. They're the Class 1 darlings. And so, they've got a bright future in Class 1 ahead of them. Number 2 team is Scott City. Been impressed with them. They went up a spot for me from last time, 20-3. I know Mark said that they looked impressive when he seen them. Hadn't got to see them play yet, but I'm going to throw them in at number 2. And, of course, till somebody beats Puxico, they're going to be my number 1. They're 22-1. And so I'm going to give that to the Puxico Indians.
All right. So my honorable mentions to start off, I have Charleston. You can't sleep on Charleston at any time. Van Buren, and I went a little obscure here. I went Leopold out of Class 1 District 2. They are 14-8 this year. But let me list off some of that 8 is kind of inflated because you look at some of these games that they played. I mean, they've played Woodland twice, lost to them both times, and I believe they've lost to them 3 times, and Campbell. Those are 2 in my list a top 5 and a top 10 team right there. Those are very strong teams.
And Charlie, I watched that Campbell and Leopold game. It was a great
Yeah.
game. And hey, that is, like you said, your sleeper, good team to watch, man.
And their
Yeah,
coach is animated too. They got a heck of a coach at Leopold that I love watching in that one game, and I'd love to see him again.
Mm-hmm. And so my top 10, I start off with South Pim at 10. They're very flippy floppy this year. You can't tell what South Pim is going to come out. They can either come out the way that they played against Cooter, or they can kind of come out the way that they played against Campbell, where they were in against Campbell, in the conference tournament, but they were never really there. They were never really in a driver's seat position. They were more in the back seat right behind the driver. Now, then you look, I have number 9, I have Bernie. I think it was a slip up against Hayti. They've had a pretty good year besides that. 8, Campbell. That's my biggest mover. I'm sure that's all of our biggest mover. As the late, great DMX would say, they are slipping, falling, and they can't get up right now. But they're on a 3-game losing streak. 7, I have Hayti. They beat Bernie last night in pretty good fashion. I expect them to rise next week. 6, I have East Prairie. They lost their conference tournament finals, the Scott Mississippi Conference Tournament, but they beat Campbell last night, and that is a very, very strong win still. My top 5, Woodland. After that beatdown that got put on them by Puxco, they have bounced back since. I have Crothersville at 4. They won the conference tournament, and then they beat New Madrid, who I said on the broadcast, you can really tell that this is a team that is New Madrid is a team that's really lacking that Jadis Jones, BJ Williamson boost that they had last year. They looked, especially in that second half, just kind of lost, really, while Crothersville was just running past them. And, I mean, I have Crothersville at 4. Top 3, same as everyone. I have 3, Risco. They are a tough matchup for anyone this year. They are a team to watch out for, especially in Class 1 this year. And 2, Scott City won the Scott Mississippi Conference Tournament this year. They beat East Prairie. And number 1, it's getting lonely at the top for Puxico. I believe this is the 4th or 5th straight week they've been number 1. And it does not look like it's going to stop unless they slip up next week.
But I'll tell you what, that's a great top 10, Charlie. And I love the fact that you're out there researching and getting videos in on old Leopold, man. I umpired a baseball game there, man, and I loved it. Great atmosphere there in the little town of Leopold. And now for my top 10, and basically, I think me and Chris are on the same page here. Besides the Charleston, I've got Charleston and South Pim tied at number 10. Charleston is 10-10. South Pim's at 12-8. South Pim is going to reach on across the border this week and play Pocahontas. And then Charleston's going to play Woodland. So I'm interested in that game. They play Valentine's Day. So are they going to dance? What are they going to do on Valentine's Day there, guys? We'll have a great matchup. And then my number 9 team is the team I seen last night, the Burning Mules. They're 13-6. And they play Campbell tomorrow night. So we got some room for somebody to move up or down because Campbell's my number 8 team, guys, at 17-5. And, of course, Bernie fell to 13-6 last night. And my number 7 team is Woodland. Woodland has really failed from a few weeks ago where they were my number 2 team. They had a key loss to Kennett the other night. I don't know if anybody watched that game, but Kennett is only 9-11. Kennett's got some talent, don't get me wrong, but they beat up on Woodland, and Woodland has to go to Charleston on the February 14th on Valentine's Day. So that's going to be a key matchup. There's Charleston and Woodland. I'd like to see that game. I might just show up at that game since I'm not welcome at some other gyms. East Prairie is 17-5. They are my number 6 team. They play Kelly on February the 14th. They should have no problems with Kelly. Number 5 team is my Hayti Indians with a big win over Bernie last night. And Hayti has some key games at Richland on Saturday. Richland's kind of like South Pim, as Charlie said. You never know what you're going to get, man. So should be an interesting game. And then the big one on the 18th at Risco. Hayti at Risco. Man, I hope I could get in to cover that one. I was told I could, but today I was threatened that I might not be able to get into that one. So we shall see if the Bootheel Sports Network is able to cover that game. Number 4 team, I had the Carswell Tigers, guys. Carswell was not in my top 10 for a long time, only because their loaded schedule on the front and a losing record. We knew deep down inside they were one of the better teams in the area, and now they are number 4 at 12-8. They have a game tomorrow night against the Gosnell Pirates. Gosnell is only 7-11, so I expect Carswell to win that one. But here's the game. They're going dancing on Valentine's night too, and they're going to dance with South Iron. South Iron is 17-3, guys. South Iron did get beat by Neelyville, so I'm very interested to see how this game is going to play out. Jeremy, you're going to have that game on the Bootheel Sports Network, aren't you?
You're absolutely right. Now, I do know that this is going to be a weather permitting game because where they're at is actually getting some of the freezing stuff, some of this junk that's coming in. We're right at the tip where we're not getting it, but north of us is. So we're hoping to get it. I'd love to see South Iron come here.
Mhm.
So, but I'm telling you, I like I said, Crothersville is a different team, and they're Alexander, the entire team. But Alexander and Brian and McVeigh, and then Sargent and Rogers, who's just a sophomore, has been putting up double digits every game. I can't wait for this matchup, and I'm praying that it happens. And it's gonna. Now I'm pretty sure if Mish is correct, and I should have asked Coach Bell earlier. If Coach Bell, if you're still listening, it's a 5:30 game because I know they have a dance that night. I'm pretty sure it's an early start game, but we'll confirm that on the on the Bootheel Sports Network. But yeah, you're talking about two of the top teams in the area head to head, and I can't wait to call it.
Yeah, it's going to be a great game. My number 3 team is the Risco Tigers. Oh, Risco, 21-2, as they go dancing to play in that Tri-County Conference Tournament Championship against the Southland Rebels. Southland's number 6 seed, guys, looking for the upset there. Last time those two teams matched up, Risco beat Southland 73-35. But Southland has revenged a 20-point loss last night over Gideon, so we'll see where that one goes. Number 2 team, I got the Scott City Rams. Man, they got the size. They got everything they need. Got 3-point shooters. So I love watching Scott City play. I watched them in East Prairie the other night in that conference title game, as well as the game I got to cover with them in South Pemiscot. And they welcomed me in their gym with open arms, so I appreciate you, Scott City. And now, number 1, the Puxico Indians. They are 22-1. Their next game, they're in 2 conferences, guys. I did not realize this until the other night. They're in that Ozark Foothill Conference, and they're going to play Twin Rivers in the conference championship in that one. Twin Rivers is 15-8, and they're no sleeper. But however, the last time these 2 teams met up, Twin Rivers got beat by Puxico 65-37, guys. And that was back on January the 3rd. So we shall see. And that is my top 10. So that's everybody's top 10. Luke Boggs has a comment. Luke is also at a lot of games with Danny Glass. So his input means a lot to us here at the Bootheel Sports Network. Gosnell is struggling this season, but they have a sophomore guard, Marcus Anderson Jr., D1 recruit, fun to watch. Luke, I'm going to tell you a little story. I played for the Hayti Indians. We went in to play the Gosnell Pirates when they had Joe Harvell.
Joe Harvell.
It was a beast. Went on to play for Ole Miss, and, man, we lost to them in Gosnell by 3. Where Chad Hill could have won it at the buzzer but missed the shot. I guess he could have tied it, rather. But anyway, that was a Joe Harvell moment and Ole Miss and Gosnell back then. And Mark Akins, too. They had another one. They had, I think Harvell was 6'6", Akins was 6'3", and those guys were on it that year, man. Sherman says South Iron has moved up to Class 2 this year. They will play whoever comes out of District 1 in the sectionals. That ought to be interesting there because, man, we got some loaded talent in Class 2 District 1, man. Jack Spade says SEC Freshman of the Year. All righty. So there we go. Guys, closing thoughts. Jeremy, lead it off.
Well, if everything works out, we'll see Gosnell tomorrow night and then South Iron on Friday. Looking forward to that. I want to say it was a good show. I thought I want to thank everybody that has commented tonight. And I would like to point out one thing. If Puxico didn't go out on a limb and play up and play Thayer, and we all know what Thayer is. Thayer's an absolute monster in any sport. Had they not, I think Puxico runs the table this year. But that's
I think so too.
Yeah. What you got, Chris?
Well, one thing I would like to mention is we mentioned Kennett a little bit. They're a Class 4 team. We don't cover them or put them in our top 10, but they've won 4 games in a row. I'm really proud of Kennett. And I was looking at their schedule here, and they got a chance to, they got to play Cape on the 25th, but they got a chance to finish out real strong. And I say that because they one of my best friends growing up, Coach David Gilmore. His son Hayden plays for Kennett and is a key piece of the Kennett Indians basketball club, and I love watching him play. He's left-handed, so I want to give kudos to Rachel and the family. But Hayden's a joy to watch. Haven't really got to meet the young man, but watched him play baseball, and he did sign a letter of intent to play with Three Rivers over in Poplar Bluff, and he's going to be an asset. I've watched him do a couple of interviews, talks. He's just going to be an excellent piece for whatever he decides to do. Just wanted to mention Kennett, wanted to mention Hayden Gilmore. Also, next week is pretty much it, guys, before districts start. So I just want to, wish Hayti Indians, the Crowsville Tigers, Portsville Bulldogs, the best of luck in the tough week. It's going to be actually the rest of this week and next week. And just thank all the listeners. Thank all the sponsors, that we play, that we can, are able to bring Portersville fans, Hayti fans, Crowsville fans, all these sports. And thank you, Mark, as well, for putting all this together. And we got a good thing going here, regardless of what Joe Blow has to say up the street or down the street. I could care less. I know what we do. We're not starving for attention. We're not starving for views. Don't want to get into the numbers, but our Bootheel Conference numbers were off the charts. It surprised me and shocked me. So say what you want. We're the Bootheel Sports Network. We're not going anywhere. We can't help that we're good. That's really how I'm going to finish. Love me some meat.
Well, I want to start off. Chris was talking about baseball commit. I want to shout out the Tigers quarterback this year, Ryan Guess. He signed, he's committed to Central Baptist to play baseball. He announced his commitment last night. But I want to start off by, tomorrow it's Gosnell for the Tigers, and I will be making that road trip for sure. I'm excited to see this Gosnell team who, we've already played once in the Manila Christmas tournament or the Manila Christmas event. And it was a great game for the Tigers then. And then Friday, sadly, I won't be there for South Iron, but I will be watching. Don't awe me. But I won't be there, sadly. And I'll be watching, and I'll finally be able to be my biased self at home yelling about the Tigers Friday night. But let's just hope for a great week of basketball. Like I say always, hope for a great week of basketball, a great just week in general. And I mean, we got districts coming up, and it's time for the rubber to hit the road. Really,
I'll tell you what, our next show will probably be nothing but district talk. So
probably. So, that's all I really got to say. Gosle tomorrow. I'll watch South Iron on my phone and yell maniacally about calls and everything, since I'll finally be able to blame the refs.
all right, man. Any more chitter chat before we need to get out of here? I think we covered it all. And we
Nice
sure
little shout
thank
out
you
there
for
from Coach there. He's not scared to play anybody. He welcomes. He wants South Iron. Come on and get some.
he's like us, man. We love a good basketball game, man. Thanks to all our listeners out there, our viewers, and our sponsors, Bootheel Sports Network. We'll see you somewhere in a gym that we are invited to real soon.